sure you get thanked and attaboys and attagirls all the time. These folks are folks that are high school educated, maybe GED educated, and will never have the opportunity to set foot on a campus like college like I did, and never had the doors opened. Don't have the family structures and the support structures, and we ask them to do very, very important work. So finding those caregivers, balancing our own families, because mom and dad are both working now. Mom can't take off and go see grandmother every Tuesday, cannot take her to the doctor, transportation issues. It's a much more complex business than it was a generation ago. We're all getting older too, and that's just a list of all the bad things that have happened to me. Let's see if I can get this. Virginia's 100. With her macular disorder, she couldn't see. She can read again for the first time in years. And she was an English teacher, so she writes poetry. The point is, the delivery of services is changing rapidly in these communities. Technology is making a huge difference. We're spending this year hundreds of thousands of dollars rebuilding our web portal. And it's our website. So many of the websites, and ours is the one, if you don't go to it now because I'm embarrassed by it, it's like so many of them, it's a billboard. Yeah, we do this the best and we do that the best, and it's just a billboard. We've been working, I called a friend of mine that built the Woodford Reserve brand, it was the outside ad guy that had worked on that years ago when he was at Doe. And I told him, I said, give me who's the best creative brand guy in Kentucky, these parts? And he gave me the name of a guy, I hope I'm not hurting anybody's feelings, the Red 7E guy here in town. And their first instinct was connectivity. And how do I, not wireless connectivity and not broadband and all that stuff, but how do we connect grandmother to her family? And so we're going to spend a whole bunch of money trying to figure out how to build a portal so that when Mark lives in Nashville, but his grandmother's out at the Glen Ridge building in Louisville, that he can get online and not just see, today you can get online and you can see the menu and you can see the activities board and all of that, but have real-time understanding of what's going on in grandmother's life and talk to her. And we've trademarked the term life stories, and we're going to start writing the life stories. Got to make sure you comply with HIPAA and got to get waivers and all that stuff. But we're going to compile the life stories for David and Pat as we get older, and we're in these communities, and then there'll be a library of them so that the family and grandsons and grandchildren and granddaughters can go on and look and understand who these people were. Last week I had GE Capital has just done a joint venture with Intel, and they've got an interesting new product. It's a room sensor, and we're going to pilot it in our new Elmcroft at Oaklawn community out here on Shelbyville Road. And it's a sensor. You put up about 5 or 6 sensors in the room. It's not a you know, George Orwell, Big Brother camera in the room kind of thing. It's not a camera, it is a motion sensor. But we will customize it around how grandfather Mulloy moves at night. So if I'm typically in the bathroom twice a night at 2 in the morning and 4 in the morning, it will send a sensor to the aide on duty there on that particular wing that I've been there 4 times. Maybe a sign of a urinary tract infection. Or that I went in at 1:30 in the morning, but the body didn't come out, it hadn't come out and it's 4 in the morning. It'll go off before that, but I've had a fall and I need help up off the floor. And so there's an amazing amount of technology that's coming that's revolutionizing how we're all going to do business over the next several years and make these buildings safer and better places to live. The next generation, and this is real today, the 83-year-old ambulatory grandmother who's clear-headed and doesn't have dementia, or even when she has Alzheimer's, her 57-year-old daughter, they want these things. They want an exercise program that matters. They want access to nature. If they're on the assisted living side, they want not just to turn on Fox News, but they want to have somebody come in. They want to hear from Yarmouth. They want to hear from Fisher. They want to talk. They want to be engaged in the politics of their world and their community. They want access to the internet. We're spending a lot of money, most providers are, getting all their buildings wireless so that, first of all, when the grandkids come, they're mad as the dickens if they're not wireless. And so you've got customer issues there, but also grandmother increasingly wants that. They will pay for the services. They want predictability to the expenses. They want food and nutrition that matters, health and wellness activities, safety and security, staff access, blah, blah. Just a couple of thoughts and then I'll wrap it up and take some questions from you. Memory care, we just took over 32 communities with Ventas that Ventas had acquired, badly run communities. And we're in the process of turning them around and straightening them out. But one of the crying needs, the developers that developed these particular group of assets was a guy out of Houston, Texas, and he built 60-unit assisted living buildings, but there's no place on most of those campuses for a secure dementia area. It is epidemic. It will not be cured in the lifetimes of all the people in this room. We can slow the growth a bit with drugs. I'm not a clinician and not totally expert, but I know more than the average bear about it. And we can treat and we medicate and we do therapeutic interventions and we do a whole host of activities, but the need is epidemic. And it will only get worse. Huge crying issue, big issue, nobody's addressed, is the whole issue of behavioral issues, agitation. Not just sundowners where they fret and get nervous when the sun goes down about 4:30 or 5, but agitation, violent behavior, all of that stuff. You've seen articles recently in the New York Times about prisoners and the aging population in the United States. Well, it's not just in prisons. It's a big issue everywhere, is where do you take care of folks that are agitated and incredibly difficult. We found ourselves in a mess down out in the state. We had taken a gentleman in. He hits, he spits, he curses, he hits, nearly hurt several of our employees. We discharged him, we messed up some paperwork, so we get sued for a wrongful discharge situation. And I'm not complaining about the lawsuit, all that got worked out. The issue was there really was no place for this man to go. He wasn't a convicted felon, he was just impossible to deal with. And he went up to Eastern State in Lexington for an evaluation. He came back out. And we couldn't take him. We were in that legal quicksand because you take him back, you get your employees hurt, I get sued. So you're in sort of a trick bag. But there's a huge issue there about how we're going to take care of people with behavioral needs and low-income behavioral people, because most nursing homes will do their best to avoid those kind of folks. I talked about signature and the renovation of existing communities, deployment of technology. Hard as the dickens to find the right work team. It's really the leader of these communities, particularly assisted living communities. In the skilled world, you've got a little bit more dollars running through, so they're staffed a bit better, and you've got a deeper management team. Assisted living is a little bit more akin to a staffing of a Hampton Inn or a Courtyard Marriott. It has clinical teams. I'm over-exaggerating here. But finding that individual, an 8 out of 9 are female, who has empathy and understanding and cares and can drive a clinical outcome, but also can manage the human resource stuff. I don't need them to be accountants, but can understand that you have to have more dollars coming in than you have going out so that we all stay afloat. That's a multidimensional person, and it's very hard to find those folks. And so trying to figure out how we train them. And then finally, what's coming, Accountable care organizations, term that gets used a lot after the Affordable Care Act came out. It's a little bit like Justice Powell said about obscenity. He couldn't define it, but he knew it when he saw it. And nobody's seen an accountable care organization yet. We've got models coming around. Norton's and Humana, Cynthia, as you know, are in talks right now. What the notion is that the government, under the Affordable Care Act, is going to require pilots starting in 2013 in they'll start in bigger markets like Louisville, like in Indianapolis first, where we manage the whole post-acute discharge. And it means that there will be people that are in relationship with the large acute care providers, and there'll be providers that are not in those relationships. And so the art of the next 10 years will be to figure out, particularly if they bundle the payment system, is that when your grandmother's had a stroke and she comes into Baptist Hospital and she gets stabilized after 3 or 4 days there, and then she goes to a Kindred community or she goes to an Elmcroft community for rehabilitative care, then how do we pay for that? How do we manage that care? The hospitals are going to be penalized for readmission rates. We're already keeping all of that data. Cindy Roney, who's our chief clinical liaison here to all of our hospitals in town, it's one of the first questions she's asked all the time is, show me the data. Let me see what you're doing here at Baptist, because of their payment system, they get paid by the episode and they're not getting paid by the day, so they want them stabilized and out of that system to the lowest cost provider. So Kindred, the other great thing we've got in this community is that they really are, of all the companies in the country, they're at the leading edge of this right now. And Louisville's not one of their cluster markets. It's a major market for them, but they've got, I think it's 14 big markets where they are clustering home health, hospice care, rehabilitative care, LTACs, skilled care. They're not really in the assisted business, but assisted will play in those networks as well. So we'll see how all that shapes out. There are big legal and all kinds of issues with it, but that's the next generation of stuff and conversation that's coming over the next 10 years. So thank you for letting me be here. I'm sorry I talked so long. Louisville is a great laboratory for all of this. You got a lot of great companies here trying to deliver good care every day and trying to deliver better care every other day. And I will be quiet and answer any questions you've got. So thank you.